Hello, everyone, and welcome to Maybe Muslim. I'm Mariyam Haider, producer and host of the podcast, and in this episode, I am in conversation with Sulfath Laila and Gargi Harithakam, co-founders of Kozhikode-based NGO Vanaja Collective. Vanaja Collective supports individuals and members from historically marginalized communities, closely working with Kerala's queer community, helping couples overcome their family's resistance and find systemic avenues to bring them together. One of the successful cases that Vanaja Collective worked on was of Adhila Nasarin and Fathima Noora, who fought familial and legal challenges to reunite and live together as a couple. Listeners' discretion is advised as this episode mentions instances of suicide, and the episode notes have timestamps. As a queer Muslim woman, Sulfat shares their journey growing up in a household that was largely driven by men and followed patriarchal norms and expectations. Over the years, Sulfat notes how they have derived support and strength from the women in their family, fought patriarchal mindsets, and come together to tackle stereotypes and Islamophobic rhetoric. Gargi discusses how ill practices, such as conversion therapy, continue to exist and harm the LGBTQI community, and despite it being banned, are often used by families against their own kin. Sulfat shares how queer voices from within Kerala's Muslim community have been engaging in public dialogues and demonstrations, and how this relationship is further evolving. We also discuss how Malayalam cinema has a long way to go in showcasing stories with feminist characters and queer couples whose love stories do not end in misery or tragic circumstances. Finally, the co founders share ways that listeners can support Vanaja Collective's fundraising efforts and stay connected with them. All details are mentioned on MBM's website, which is mainbhimuslim.com. Hey Sulfat, hey Gargi, welcome to Maybe
Hi,
Muslim. How are you both doing?
we are doing good. We are doing excellent.
Very nice to have you both finally. And I came about your page a few months ago through Adila and Noura's story. And ever since I got to know about your collective, I was very curious and I thought I would just reach out and hear from both of you. Can you give a bit of introduction to Vanaja Collective and how have you both, started it and how are you running it?
So, yeah, both of us have been working in the political activist sphere for a while. Sulfat has already spoken about her pure Muslim identity before we started Vanaja. She was already there speaking about her identity. And I was also working with some small organizations before the forming of the collective, but the point with at which we decided to have the collective was when one of our friends committed suicide, and they were bisexual, and they were uh, forced into conversion therapy, and uh, and the media and uh, generally many people from Kerala society, many groups from Kerala society were thinking that we were responsible for that death, and but we could see the points where a collective help was needed, and collective help could have helped our friend in a different way to help her survive, etc. So we decided to form this collective together so that we could help people in crisis. That was the first motive, that we need to help people in crisis, especially cure people from intersection.
Yeah, I think it's a beautiful effort that you both put together. And um, I when I first heard about, in our initial discussions, you told me about how you started Vanaja. I think I just felt it was such a courageous and just a remarkable ode to your friend, her life and spirit. And I just want to, take a pause and reflect on that, and really honor the life that she lived. I also want to talk about, you mentioned the conversion therapy. And from my own understanding and reading, it seems like it has been a phenomena and what has been somehow legitimized over decades, especially in some parts of India and also like in Kerala. Can you talk a bit more about conversion therapy, and why is it that people really continue to believe in this?
Yeah. Um, I believe that now when we are working as Vanaja Collective, when we are getting more and more into the details of different kind of illegal therapies that people are made to go through, we understand that uh, people from very different spheres of life are undergoing therapy without any need, like women wanting divorce, uh, a girl putting up a photograph of smoking. Like very different people are, you know, being brought into therapy for no reason. And this is because this is just like a continuation of like how we used to do that. Magic people used to come and like try to get you into some sort of give you some magic meditation so that you are no longer homosexual or gay or whatever. And in Kerala, every place this will continue as long as we don't have a proper understanding of patriarchy or the power systems, because we want our children to continue doing what our forefathers did, and our children are no longer listening to the patriarchal norms. They know better, they know more about freedom. And now so you want to make them feel that they are sick, make them feel that there is something wrong with them. And this is just a continuation of old traditions, I guess. But yeah, it's going in a different way these days.
And would you say that it has to some extent been legitimized through practitioners who claim to be, and I'm using quotes like psychologists or having an understanding of psychology, so to speak. And do you think that is something that also, in a way, makes people believe or follow it?
That's true, because in the pedagogy of psychology or psychotherapy or whatever, they are not learning about the sociological aspects of mental health. They are not learning about the structural inequalities or anything that kind of makes people ill. So the framework of their own learning about mental health is based on their morality, which is religious morality or communal morality, right? And they put this morality picture, they project this picture onto all the patients come to them. So if they are anti trans people, they definitely punish their clients or support seekers for being trans. And we have seen this happening so many times. The Mental Health Act of 2017 clearly states that such things cannot be done. All these things are outlawed in that act, but that act is not being enacted properly in the society. There are so many provisions in that act which makes you which makes the situation better, but that has not been actually practiced in the uh, normal situation. So that's what we are trying to do. What we are trying to do is to make that act work for people.
Sulfat, I want to kind of ask you, in a more personalized sort of experience that you've had growing up, with family, with the community. You, as Gargi said, like, you and Gargi have, known each other before even Vanaja was formed, and you identify as a queer Muslim, and based on what the understanding of queerness is, and then there is a sense of religiosity that comes with it. That how does the religion play a part in the whole society? Can you share a bit about how your experience has been, and how have you understood the work that needs to be put into becoming better at understanding LGBTQI solidarity and acceptance?
Yeah, so I was born in a very Muslim conservative family in Kerala, and in my family there were seven women and two men, only two men, but these two men were the decision makers of my family. And when I left my home at 18, it wasn't about my pure identity, but it was about my identity as a woman, uh, my right to education. They were trying to get me married without my permission, without my consent, and that's why I left home. And my mother and sisters always stood beside me, as they were my greatest strength that time. And but they couldn't do that much because these two men restricted them from calling me, contacting me, and I couldn't visit my home because I was restricted from my own home by men in my family and my neighbors. So after leaving home, somehow I connected with queer people in Kerala. That's how I connected with Gargi also, and mostly through Facebook, Instagram, online platforms. I connected with Anjana, uh, Gargi mentioned earlier, Anjana, and I came to Calicut and met many queer people from Calicut, and that's how I started working with queer community, and I came out as a queer Muslim person. But at first, I wasn't sure about claiming my Muslim identity because when I left home, I was very rebellious and I was against all these conservative ideas, all these conservative people who were following religious beliefs and uh, such systems. But when I started working with political, uh, when I started working in the political area and queer community, uh, I understood the importance of claiming my identity as a Muslim queer woman. That's how that's how I started representing myself as a queer Muslim, and I think uh, after that, the thing in my the most important thing about being a Muslim believer is that we can always stick to the faith that we have in the community. I think nobody can erase our community because we are always sticking to the faith part. We always believe in Allah that He will save us from all the misery, like that. So when I found that part again, I was able to survive. I was able to live a better life. Yeah, and all your community helped me a lot to reach in such an understanding in my life.
Thanks, Sulfat. You've put it out so beautifully, because the aspect of community is something that is one of our grounding forces. It helps us manage a lot of things, take care of a lot of things that is happening around us, invest ourselves in places and causes that matter to us, and then come back to a sense of belonging in the community that we've grown up and the communities that we find. Because you mentioned how you found a home, of so to speak, in the queer community as well. um, and from what you were sharing, it made me wonder if you see that things are changing within the Muslim community as well, in Kerala, or has for you, like you have, understood and embraced the different facets of your identity. Do you see other people also doing so, and do you see changes happening in terms of conversations, in terms of acknowledgement?
Yeah, actually, in Kerala, queer community has consistently shown support and solidarity for the oppressed, regardless of any homophobia or prejudice. We have conducted protest street programs against CAA, NRC, against hijab ban. We stand for Palestine. We grieve with them, and it is now the time for the Muslim community to align with the queer community. And I think the conversations and discussions has been already started here. We have groups like cure leaves against homophobia. We have such groups here, we have such discussions here in the community. And uh, from Muslim community also there are people who shows solidarity with the cause. But I think it should uh, I think there are some restrictions, especially for the women from the Muslim community. Even though they are supporting, even though they are standing with our cause, they can't come out and stand with us publicly because there are restrictions due to patriarchy and family system. Yeah. But yeah, such conversations are happening here, and we hope that it will change.
Yeah, I think just the part where you mentioned that you see more and more people coming who associate with the Muslim identity, who are from the community, coming out and in a way supporting larger other conversations. And you said something very, which is it's time that the Muslim community stands with the queer community, and I think that's something very powerful to acknowledge, as we have this conversation. I think as a collective, I also know that, like I said earlier, I got to know about your collective through Adhila and Noора's story, which made headlines. And then also Sumaya and Afifa's story, how you have been supporting them and how they have been standing against the forces, whether it's within their families or administrative forces who did not accept them as a couple or were trying to not give them those rights as a couple. Can you share a bit about how have you supported, partnerships like these, companionships like these, and in a way, what are you learning from them and how are they learning from you?
What I think is, it's a bit complicated in a sense that we are we are supporting lesbian, homosexual women from the Muslim community, and Muslim community has written, whatever, like they are, many people from the community claim that they have written evidence against homosexuality, or like it's in the book that homosexuality is bad. And we are, so we find it, for Adila, Noora, or Sumaya, FIFA, I think they are more courageous than all of us here, who come from a very strict and very conservative background, to acknowledge and recognize their sexuality, and to realize that this is something not bad, something not a sin. It's love, and they need to pursue this love, and we are only, helping them, supporting them after they have come to this realization, because they all contacted us after making plans of getting out of home and living life together, etc., etc. Yeah, so um, I don't think we got to deal with the conservative part. They got to deal with it, and Sumaya and Afifa were telling me in a personal discussion that they know that they were sinners, but it's okay. They were feeling that they were sinners, you know. But yeah, so we were trying to convince them, no, you are okay, you are natural, whatever. But the conditioning is so deep that sometimes they start believing that they are also at the wrong and yeah, so most of it, it's theirs to deal. We are only like, also our support is also just in the midway. We help them to get out of home and help them to settle a little bit. That's all we do. So just a few days they are with us, that's all, or we are in touch with them, but the life is for them to live, and they are convinced, and that's the best part.
Yeah, it's just like you said, just the amount of courage and the amount of faith to believe in their relationship, to believe in themselves, is, I would say, it's commendable. At the same time, it shows a path for so many others to recognize, what are our needs and what whom do we love, and how do we pursue love, and within that journey, they find voices and support mechanisms like yours, and then you, like you said, like you offer them the support that you can. But the bigger part, the bearing of this truth, is what they first choose to speak up with. And that's just inspiring, so in on so many levels. And I personally was, like I said, like for personally for me, just to see how joyous the pictures and the stories of Adila and Noora are, is just something like just adds just more sunshine to the day. Every time I find it.
True.
So you mentioned about how Vanaja has over a period of time stood the you were part of the anti-CA protest. You pulled out support against the hijab ban that was imposed on the students in Karnataka. In the larger context of where we see ourselves, I wouldn't just say as a Muslim community, but also like as a community that is seeing how hate against the minorities, how hate against marginalized communities is just becoming regular and regular. It's just becoming so obvious every day. What do you see? And I think the answer can come from both, you and Gargi both. How do you see the work of a collective like Vanaja continuing in and upholding those principles of equality, of dignity, and of respect for everyone, regardless of their religion, their gender background, or caste?
Uh, So, as I said earlier, there is a chance for every person uh, to be, especially when we are born in a conservative Muslim family, there is a chance for us to talk against that system. And I think most of the people in Muslim people in Kyo community has a past like that. I mean, at first when they came out, they were against Muslim community, and then they got to understand that Muslim community is also facing problems here, and we should stand with them. And then we change our stand, and then we got, then we understand the importance of standing with the community as a queer person and as also as a Muslim person. And us Vanaja Collective is trying to have more discussions and more understanding in this subject. We are trying to talk to people from our community about the lives of Muslims also. Yeah, so we are conducting such discussions for a change that we can make.
And we are also, uh, planning to do more of activities in the different oppressed communities, and how to, like, one of the biggest things when we see oppressed communities is that one oppressed community will have some problem with the other oppressed community. All the oppressed communities are divided and ruled, right? So, and that is the problem with the system, or that is the tactic of the system, so that they can rule all of us in, put all of us in different boxes and rule us. But what we are trying to do is to break these boxes, so that people from different boxes get to understand the other people, and how that. So in the CANRC struggle, it came up with a slogan called "Oppressed Unity." I think it is one of the most important, politically important slogan, also an ideology currently, because we all need unity against this Hindutva fascist Brahminist system, which is classist, casteist, and patriarchal at the same time. So only united oppressed people can have any can provide any threat to the present fascist regime. So that's what we are trying to do. Like, we are trying to melt down the walls, break down different boxes, so that we all come together as the oppressed community, like what Prakash Ambedkar is doing in Maharashtra, or like how small collectives and small political parties are doing across many states in India. Yeah.
And I also think that the younger generation in Kerala has also has this clarity on this topic. Because when we conducted Cure Pride March Kerala this year, uh, in the audience there were many Muslim women to hear us, to listen us, and to talk about their oppression and to stand with us. And there were also people who did protest for Palestine, has also showed their solidarity with our
Cure
Cure
Pride.
Pride. Yeah, so that was very liberating for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Gargi and Sulfat, both of you. And liberating is really the word that speaks to all of us, I believe, in this moment in time. Intersectional solidarity is what allows us to have actionable hope for a future which is equal to all of us. Um, And as you were speaking, Sulfat, I was going back to the questions that I was working on for this conversation, and it took me to a survey that was done, I think, in 2021, called the Mathrubhumi Youth Manifesto Survey, which showed that within the ages of 15 and 35, over 70% of the youth supports legislation for same-sex marriages. You know, and that's a profoundly big number and chunk of, I don't know, would they be Gen
Yeah.
Zs? Gen Zs and the young millennials, I would say, who can very clearly see that this is simply about just wanting to live and love the way you would like to, and that number and figure really brought a lot of hope in me as well. Within the state of Kerala, you already shared this as well, but how is it that we, like, when you look at this number and when you look at the way people are showing up at different public events and demonstrations, do you see that they are also committed in that, in not just simply to be part of demonstrations, but also have conversations back at home, back with their interpersonal relationships, especially with our parents, because I think that's one big sort of leap that we often have to make, and I believe our parents also sometimes have to make, to understand how to meet together, how to find that meeting point. But do you think like the Gen Zs are also now interacting? And I would call all of us also, like we are part of that collective, that we are ready to have conversations back at home and say, this is not right. We need to stand up for the marginalized. And that means we are showing up for everyone who has been marginalized.
I think the younger generation is doing the revolution everywhere they can, also at their home. Because what they are doing outside, they will be forced to do it in their own home. So I think they are making a big change in every system. They are making change, and I think it's a result of uh, the work the people have been doing here, the effort the cure community and all the oppressed community put here to make change. Yeah.
Yeah, I also think so. I think the younger generation, like most of the organizers of the Kerala Cure Pride were like below 25 or below 23, like, so, and for some of them it was their first pride, for some of them it was their second pride. So they are making a lot of noise regarding the oppression everywhere. Like, I think it was easy when Sulfath was sloganeering for Palestine, everybody was together.
Yeah.
It was not like somebody was alone there and trying to say something. Everybody knew about what was going on in Palestine. So, yeah, we have a lot of hope in the work we are doing. And uh, yeah, we are definitely getting better at it in some time.
Yeah, I remember watching your video, Gargi, with Sulfat sloganeering, and you're right. Like it was a collective call that everyone was making, and it just brings like it makes you feel alive that you're not the only lone standing voice. And I think this conversation is coming up more and more, especially as we are all witnessing the onslaught on Palestine. That you can have a full sort of, even the social media machinery which is trying to clamp down on the number of views and engagement that Palestinian accounts or Palestinian supporters are trying to do, but that's not stopping people from sharing, that's not stopping people from voicing their support. And it largely comes from just this resounding understanding that we will need to stand for what is right, and we need to play our part. And I think in that way, maybe the echoes get into every place, like Sulfat said, they go, whether it's family, whether it's friends or neighbors. I am a millennial, so I'm not on TikTok, but I have over the years growing up. I think for me, films and movies have always been a channel of understanding the world, of understanding life, so to speak. And I became a very late entrant to Malayalam cinema. But the moment I started reading and researching about it, I was mind blown as to the way that filmmakers have been talking about so many things, not just talking about identities and our sexualities, but also different kinds and forms of love, and how every kind of love is pure and needs to be accepted. And I want to hear a bit from both of you. Just having spent so many years in Kerala, having watched those films, how did the would I would say like this culture informed the understanding of the world that we live in? And can you give us some, if you would like to, give us some recommendations on this episode as well?
I don't know, but I Uh, I don't really exactly relate to what you're like the excitement you're talking. Maybe because we've grown in this culture, whatever. Yeah, and mm, there are a lot of interesting filmmakers in Tamil also, whom we look up to, and yeah, Kannada also. But the thing is, we have a strong conversation going on. That is true, and especially, did you watch The Great Indian Kitchen?
Not yet,
Okay.
but yes, I know about that film, and it's on my to watch list. And I think that's one of the reasons, because I read so much about the Great Indian Kitchen, and I think it came out 2 years ago,
Few years
about two
ago, I
years
think
ago,
20s,
maybe.
2020 years ago. And yeah, there are a lot of interesting films happening in Kerala. But mainstream films, like if you're watching mainstream films, they are still somewhere between patriarchal and casteist. They are still the same. There are some, anomalies that are happening, which is very nice and promising and hopeful. Yeah, but it's not like all Malayalam films are
Hmm.
extremely good or
Only there are few films which like ഒരു ദേശാടനക്കിളി
mm,
എന്താ ദേശാടനക്കിളികൾ
Karayarla.
ദേശാടനക്കിളികൾക്ക് കരയാറില്ല there is one movie named ദേശാടനക്കിളികൾ കരയാറില്ല and I watched this movie with my mother when I was a kid. And yeah, I thought these it's about two girls who are in love,
Oh wow.
and uh, but at the end the one girl committed suicide. Yeah, and in most of the films about queer persons here in Kerala are very tragic. Actually, it will either end up in suicide or something like that. Some tragedy will happen in the end. And but as we said
Yeah,
earlier,
like
yeah, but the younger generation are making a change for that. There were one short film named I don't remember the name.
Amor, I don't know.
Amor.
Mm.
Yeah, Amor, I guess. So it was about a gay couple, and it's a very beautiful movie. It just showed the love and care they have between, no tragedy. Yeah, so that was a very happy moment for queer community in Kerala to watch such a beautiful work. You were saying?
Yeah, I was saying that you mentioned Sanjaram and Mutan.
Yeah.
In both the films, community people are dying or separated or breaking up or something like that. Yeah, so they are both these films were made by people who are not community members. They are allies. So
Also, they haven't consulted with any community members regarding our lives, regarding the fight we have been going through.
yeah.
Yeah. So, growing up as a queer kid, I don't think we can find any hope, or we can connect with those films we have here.
Hmm. Thank you for sharing that, because as I was listening, I was also pondering over this, that it's not just about reflecting um, love of a certain kind, but also showing joy and hope and a happy future. Like the climaxes doesn't have to be so drastic. Um, and I was also thinking, what other movies, even globally, that I am trying to remember, if they have had that essence of love without the tragic end. Like, can we just have love with a good end, or just a happy journey? Like, everything will happen up and down, but that's part of life, and it just doesn't end at the this dark place.
Oh, I saw a very nice Hindi cure movie too. one lesbian woman got married to a gay man. Both understood their sex.
Oh yes,
Just
is
married
it
or
is
something
it
like that. Something.
oh I yeah, it's a Hindi
Yeah,
film,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, I think I watched it as well.
And it was very nice. Like there was not much tragedy and all. Everybody was having good sex and good time.
True.
Now a lot of films are coming out like that.
Yes, and I think like I'm all the time like curious as to how they are bringing out their like even the representation of a queer couple can have like the multiple intersectionalities of like where is one of the characters from, like whether it is a religious background or whether it is a caste background, and that kind of showcases a more deeper understanding of how the intersectionality plays around, especially I feel in a country and a culture like our the Indian society. I do have a couple more questions, but they are mostly about, again, I'm kind of zooming back on your work as a collective. You know, you've been working incredibly in so many spaces. You have been building so many conversations. What is the vision that you hold for Vanaja Collective for the coming future?
We believe that we can continue to make these spaces and make a bigger space, safe space for the community, more space for, you know, people from our community so that they can. Um, so even in the entire Kerala, I don't find a place where we can just casually come in and sit and talk about feminism or talk about bell hooks or talk about um, being cure or whatever. Like there are no discussion spaces in Kerala which is casual or um, easy or safe. So we want to make a space where people can just come in and feel easy about themselves, feel welcome, and feel. Uh, so that's what we want an office for. We don't have an office yet, and we are trying to get enough money to hire an office in the future.
And also through our work we are trying to ensure that all the oppressed communities are getting the accessibility to systemic powers. I think our crisis strategy is that we are using the system to help the oppressed.
We are using this police and law system, and we are kind of threatening these people to, abide by the law. Like we are making big scene when they are like talking um, in a normal, conventional sense. Yeah, so we are using media also to. Two cases we have gone to media. One is Adhila Noora and the other one is Sumaya Fifa. But we have dealt with more than 15 cases in the meanwhile. So we use media only when there is no other way. You have to use media, like sometime to pressure the authorities to do what is legally possible.
And you mentioned earlier that you are working towards having an office space and a space that you can have for conversations. I know you were also raising, you're doing a fundraiser. Can you talk a bit about that and how people can help you fundraise? And what are the places that all the listeners, can, find out about the work you're doing and stay connected and support in every way they can?
There is a Milap link where we have put up for fundraising, and there we can anybody can see the work we have done, and they can understand what we are going to do in the future, etc. Yeah, that will be the basic place, first place to go to. And yeah, it's a very difficult task when extremely talented people like Sulfath, and then there are two other members in the organization, uh, who are like working here for the whole time and are not getting paid. So it's an extremely difficult situation, for all of us that way. So yeah, that's why we are trying to do some fundraising, but um, we have kind of exhausted all the crowdfunding possibilities. We have reached out to all the circles for fundraising, and now we are waiting for some fundraising organizations to help us. We have applied for funding in many places. We are waiting to hear from them. Yeah.
And you also have an Instagram presence.
Yeah, you can find us Vanaja Collective in Instagram and Facebook. വേറൊന്നുമില്ലല്ലോ.
Yeah, Instagram is something what we are using as a political tool.
Yeah.
Like when there is like we did our Adhila's case came up on our Instagram page first. Like Sumayya's case also. When we decide to go to the media, that is the place we are using.
And we got connected with many beautiful women like Mariam. Yeah, we got connections from Instagram. I
Yeah.
think that was our start as a collective. We got a community there in the virtual area. Yeah, and um, there are many people from different places who are supporting us, showing their love to uh, financial support and sharing their, you know,
Spaces like you
spaces
are
also.
doing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say the same for both of you. It's been such a privilege to come across your work and now finally be able to speak to both of you. Having said that, I also want to make sure that all of our listeners can get the right links to support financially to help Vanaja Collective get a physical space and continue with these conversations, with these efforts on the ground that talking about queer couples and queer love, standing up for marginalized groups everywhere, and standing up for liberation of Palestine. So that's the fervent wish I hold for all of us, and I make sure that we get the right links on all the pages and continue speaking up for all of us. Thank you so much, Gargi. Thank you so much, Sulfat. It's been a beautiful afternoon speaking to both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If you enjoyed listening to this episode, please review and or give us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to them. Also, do consider supporting Vanaja Collective through their fundraising efforts. The links and details to it are mentioned on Maybe Muslim's website. You can also listen to other MBM episodes with Sabika Abbas, Nasni Rizvi, and Izedi, among others, who bring a diverse understanding of being an Indian, a Muslim, and everything in between. I'm Mariyam Haider. Thank you for listening to Maybe Muslim. I will be back with another episode in a few weeks. Until then, take care. Lots of love and gratitude.